Well, I was taking mock O-levels at the Hemel Hempstead Grammar School, and I was called to the headmaster's office. I had been called there before, and I knew I was in trouble whenever that occurred. And I walked into his study, and there was a bank of lights, and Eamonn Andrews standing there with a book and saying, "This is your life," and it frightened the life out of me. It occurred because there was a problem with one of the participants, but they had a gap in the schedule, and my uncle, Frank Goldsworthy, was with the Daily Express, and he knew Leslie Jackson. He called Leslie and said, "Look, David's available. I've got all his file here." And Leslie took a bit of persuading that a 17-year-old could actually fill a programme. And when Frank took over the papers to him, they put it on. Because I didn't have people in far-flung parts of the world to bring in and organise. They were all local people, so it could be done fairly quickly. And they had this gap to fill that they had to fill quickly. When I was 11 years old, I went on a picnic at Ivanhoe Beacon, which is a National Trust ground. But in the war, it was a mortar range, and it was a horseshoe-shaped hill, and they put the mortars round the top and fired them into the farm area below. They were meant to, of course, cleared the whole ground. In a war situation, they just fire them off and train people because they want the soldiers on the front line. In peacetime, they count every one to make sure it explodes, and if not, they go find it. It's not the case then. And I saw, and I could run like hell in those days, 11-year-old, and I saw on the post, a gate post, a farmer's gate post, what I thought was a very large tin can. And I ran down to it, picked it up, and it was so heavy I dropped it, and they heard it 7 miles away, and it turned out to be an unexploded mortar. And Edward Bilton, who was standing behind me, because I say, fortunately or unfortunately, I could run and I got to it first. The shrapnel that went through me hit him, but he wasn't so badly injured. I lost my left leg below the knee, right leg above the knee, and my left hand. I was left-handed as well at the time, which explains my writing. I lost my left hand at the wrist. They sent a chauffeur to pick me up in the evening to take me up to the studios. I can't remember much about that. It really was such a surprise. But and they filmed the first part of it, and then off they went. And I went back to mock O-levels, and then the chauffeur picked me up in the evening, and we drove up to the studio. I had quite a long time to think about it. Of course, I had all the afternoon. Funny enough, I wasn't really worried about it. I was quite excited that this was going to happen. I wasn't quite sure exactly what, but they took me into a dressing room, and I remember being so excited I wanted to go to the loo, and there wasn't enough time to go to the loo. So Eamonn Andrews said, "Well, we in the sink." I said, "I can't do that." And then we dashed on stage, and I really didn't know who was going to be there. So it was quite fascinating as people like my headmaster and my wife to be. First guest actually was Freddie Mills, and Freddie had because I was boxing, and Charlie Collett was my trainer, and Charlie had done the fairgrounds with Freddie Mills, and they told some fascinating stories. And Charlie called Freddie when I was injured. And Freddie came along to see me, and he had armfuls of toys for the kids in the ward. He was an absolutely wonderful character, absolutely wonderful. Actually, when we got to the studios, the first thing he did at the White City after we finished the programme, we went back for the party there. The girl on the lift had lift actually on her blouse, so he picked her up and ran down the corridor with her. But Freddie was the first guest, and there were lots of others. But the last one, yes, was Douglas Bader. And Douglas had come to visit me probably 3 times because our leg injuries, he had both hands, but our legs were amputated exactly, and I mean exactly the same. The left was the same side, the right was the same. We could have swapped legs. And I found that out because Dr. Vitali was Douglas's doctor as well as mine. And so he compared, and he thought this was so strange that we were exactly the same. But I always used the walking stick. And Douglas and I, whenever we saw each other, he used to say, "You still using that stick, Butler?" And I'd say, "He's still not walking very well," because he had to waddle and with his legs further apart to keep balance, and I didn't have to do that. But my back was not strong enough not to use a stick, particularly going up and down stairs. And I didn't have two hands to pull myself around as he did. In the following newspapers, the following day, the reports, the reviews were fantastic, on the basis that they didn't expect a program as interesting with someone only 17 years old, and they reviewed it against sort of old fogies that were on there, old actors and actresses who were past their prime as such. So it was a bit of a breath of fresh air, I think, a different type of program. Well, certainly he put me at ease to begin with, because I was very nervous when we first walked in, to understand what was going to happen. And he explained to me, I stood by the sidelines and I would be pushed forward and called in at a particular time after Freddie Mills had been on. And then afterwards, again, he was absolutely charming to my parents and to Marilyn. I had a great deal of time for him. Incredibly professional. I think it was a highlight in terms of it gave me a lot of publicity, a lot of wide publicity. I was trying to get my motor racing licence at the time, which actually took me another 30 years until I was 47, and took the MSA to the European courts. But at that stage, a gentleman who was watching the programme in the London clinic sent me a very large cheque to help me buy a car. We had a parcel arrive with £500 in it. Just simply said good luck in it. Couldn't send it back. We didn't know who it was from or whatever. And actually, all those donations or whatever, I put together to build the first racing car. So from that point of view, it was the start of my racing career. But it also gave me a platform where I could visit other people. And I was invited to quite a lot of different shows. I was at the Swindon show. I went and visited the bomb victims of the Guildford bombing, because a number of the soldiers were injured the same as myself. So it gave me a different profile, for which I was very grateful. To have the sportsmen at the top of their peak of their careers actually come on the programme and honour me in that way. Ted Dexter, Tony Brooks for motor racing, and Bobby Smith, who was the England captain at the time. Oh, of course I knew them by reputation, and but to have them actually come on the programme. But actually, I think probably more thrilling than those three guys was Freddie Mills and Douglas Bader, because Freddie I absolutely loved as a personality, and Douglas was my role model without a doubt.